Hello everyone and welcome back. So continuing our menu making, which is using this primary button right here that we were making. What I've done here between these two videos is I've added some style here. So let me just explain what I've done. I've just added a background color, which is colors.primary, which was our greenish color if you remember. Then I've done align items and justify content, both of these to center. What this does is it puts the text that I'm putting, so within this button, whatever text I have, this thing right here, will be at the center of the button. And I've also given it a padding vertical so that this part makes sure that there's some vertical space between the text and the top and bottom of my button. So that's this line right here. So, and in my border radius, this just gives the border some kind of a radius so that it's a slightly rounded button instead of an exact rectangle. And I have a border width and primary color, which isn't really very important right here. I'll tell you when it does become important, but right now it's not very important. I've just given it a border width of 1 and a border color of primary, and I've given some basic style to my title as well. And having done this, having given this style, let's go ahead and look at our UI right here. So as you can see, this whole thing is my button right here, and you can clearly see when I click on it, there's some feedback that I get. So this is my button, and now what I want to do is this is my style that I've given for the button, and this is going to be common across all the buttons that I have, no matter where that button is. But I also, from my menu, I want to give this button some kind of a style. So what I want to say is my button only needs to be let's say 30% of the entire screen width in width. So I want to say width is 30%. So I somehow want to give the style from here. So I just say style equals styles dot button. So now this style is also passed as a prop to my primary button. So along with the title, I can also take the style as a prop. And now what happens is I want to have this style right here. So this needs to be continued, but I also want another style. And the way I do that is enclose this thing in a square bracket. So look here, I've got a square bracket now, and within this square bracket, it's just like giving an array. So I'm giving multiple ones here, so an array or a list. So I'm giving a list. The second one is my style, which I got from the props. And now let's go ahead and look at our UI. So as you can see, this now comes as just 30% of the entire width. And the second thing that I might want to do is I might want to close this in another view. So I have another view here, and let's just name this styles.content. And within this view, I want this start game button and another exit button maybe. So for this view, the style that I want to give is I'll just put it right here. It'll be content, and within this I want to say that this has a flex of 1, so that makes sure that it covers the entire thing right here till the bottom. And then I want to say that it should have align items to center, and let's see what that does. So as you can see, it aligned it horizontally at the center. And I also want justify content to center, so that should get the start button to the very center, which is looks pretty good. And another thing that I want to do now is my function that I want that this button, when this button gets pressed, that should also be passed as a prop. And the reason I would want that to be passed as a prop is because at different places the function should serve different purposes. So I'll create a function here. So let's create a function called start game button, let's say, and in JavaScript I'm allowed to say start game button equals this thing, which is a function, and then define the function within these braces. And what I'm going to do here is just say this dot props dot navigate, and here I just need to give the name that I've given in my stat nav, which is game. So this will take me to the game screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass another prop which is on press, and I'm going to say this dot start game button, and this should actually work. So let's go ahead and try it. What I need to do here is another on press. Take this as a prop, and then here where I've set the on press to an empty function, I set it to on press. So this should actually work. Let's go back to our game and hit start game. As you can see, it took me to this screen, and you might not be able to see the text here, but it actually says this is the game screen. The reason it's getting the white background is because we probably haven't given it any style, or maybe there's something wrong with the style that I gave it. So yeah, this should be common styles. So if I make this common styles container, this should now get a grayish black background. So now as you can see, it says this is the game screen. Now because I haven't added any back button here, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to do reload JavaScript. So that takes me again to my menu screen. So another thing that I also did between the videos was I copied the code from my primary button to my secondary button. So this has the code which was at the beginning of this video. So I'll also have to say style and on press here, and then change this to on press, and change this to styles.button and as well as style. So that makes up our secondary button, and I'll tell you what the importance of a primary and secondary button is. Let's get rid of this game screen right here. So normally what happens is when you have a button that you want the user to click, you give it as a primary button, but if there are other actions that the user can also perform, but those aren't the primary actions that you want the user to perform on a particular screen, you give it a secondary button. And what's the difference between a primary and a secondary button in terms of looks? So my secondary button is just going to have a border and some text at the center, and it's going to have the same background color as this right here, so this grayish color. So you'll see this when I actually add a secondary button. Let's just copy this thing right here, and the reason I can copy it is because my primary and secondary button actually take the same props. So I'll also have to import secondary button from components /secondary button and I've probably not changed this from primary to secondary button, so I should do that, secondary button. So this should work now. Let's try it out. I have a secondary button which now should say, let's say, exit, and the on press should probably not be this .start game. Let's just give it an empty function. So let's save this, and now if you see here, I've got another button which is exit. So these two are sticking together way too much, so let's change that. So for my button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say margin vertical is going to be, let's say, 2%. Maybe 2% should look good, I think. So I've got these two buttons right here. The first one is start game, the second one is exit. As you can see, I can click on this, but this doesn't really do anything. So I think our menu is now ready. In the next video, what we'll do is we'll start working on the game screen itself. I'm very excited to start working on that. So I'll see you there. Don't forget to give the video a like as always, and see you next time.